Captain Jake Morrison stared at the strange signal coming through his ship's speakers and felt his blood turn cold. The sound was unlike anything he had heard before, a mix of clicking noises and musical tones that somehow carried the weight of desperation. His crew aboard the Earth's Eye had been watching the galaxy from the shadows for 50 years, but no alien had ever tried to talk directly to humans before. Dr. Lisa Kane rushed to her workstation, her fingers flying over the translation programs. She was the best language expert Earth had, and if anyone could figure out what these aliens were saying, it would be her. The message kept repeating, growing stronger as their ship moved closer to the source. "Captain, I'm getting something," Lisa said, her voice shaking. "This is a distress call, but it's not just asking for help. They're asking specifically for us, for humans. They keep saying children of the Deathworld and warriors from the impossible planet." Jake felt his stomach drop. For decades, Earth had stayed hidden while watching alien civilizations through their stolen signals and intercepted communications. They had learned about 12 different species that lived in peace across the galaxy, sharing technology and knowledge. These aliens had no wars, no weapons designed to kill, and no understanding of real violence. They were everything humans were not. The signal grew clearer as Lisa's computers worked to decode it. Soon words began forming on her screen, and what she read made her hands shake. The message was from something called the Galactic Harmony Council, representing 12 different alien species. They were all dying. "Jake, you need to see this," Lisa whispered. "Something called the Void Collective is destroying entire worlds. They've already killed billions of aliens, and the survivors are begging us for help. They're offering to share all their technology, all their knowledge, everything they have." The main screen showed star charts that Lisa's computer had decoded from the alien message. Red marks covered dozens of star systems, each one representing a world that had been completely destroyed. The destruction was moving in a pattern, spreading outward from the galactic center like a disease. "They say we're legendary," Lisa continued reading. "Every alien species knows about Earth, but they think it's impossible for life to exist here. They call our planet a Class 12 Deathworld, the most dangerous type of planet in the galaxy. Most aliens believe that nothing could survive on a world with our weather, our gravity, our radiation levels." Jake looked at the data and realized the terrible truth. These peaceful aliens had never faced real war because they had never needed to. Their worlds were garden planets with gentle weather and safe environments. When danger came, they tried to negotiate or run away. The idea of fighting to the death was completely foreign to them. The translation program beeped and a new section of the message appeared. Lisa read it aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. "We know you exist, children of the impossible world. Our legends speak of a species that conquered their death world through violence and cunning. We have tried peace, we have tried negotiation, we have tried everything our nature allows. The machines do not listen. They consume everything. Please, if you have any mercy in your warrior hearts, help us. We are dying." Before Jake could respond, his sensors detected a ship approaching their position. It was badly damaged, leaking atmosphere and barely holding together. The design was unlike anything in their databases, clearly alien in origin. "Captain, I'm reading one life sign aboard that vessel," reported his sensor officer. "Whatever's piloting that ship is barely alive." Jake made a decision that would change human history. Bring them aboard. Use the emergency airlock and prepare the medical bay for an unknown alien species. 20 minutes later, Jake found himself face to face with the first alien human eyes had ever seen in person. The creature was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, like a cross between a dolphin and an octopus, with blue-green skin that seemed to shimmer with moisture. It breathed through gills on its neck and spoke through a translator device that converted its clicking language into words. "I am Zenthka of the Kalari people," the alien said, its large eyes filled with what could only be tears. "I carry the final plea of 12 dying civilizations. Our homeworlds are gone. Our children are dead. Only scattered refugee fleets remain, hiding in the dark spaces between stars." The alien showed them images on a small device, pictures of beautiful ocean worlds and crystal cities that had been reduced to lifeless rock and metal scraps. The Void Collective, Zenthka explained, was not alive in the way biological creatures understood life. They were ancient machines that had awakened from some deep sleep and begun consuming everything in their path. "Your species is our last hope," Zenthka continued. "We know you come from a world that tried to kill you every day, a world where only the strongest and smartest could survive. We know you understand war in ways we never could. Our weapons are designed to stun and disable. Yours are designed to destroy completely. Jake looked at the alien and saw something he recognized despite their completely different appearance. It was the look of a soldier who had lost everything and was making one last desperate stand. It was a look he had seen in mirrors during Earth's own wars. "What exactly are you asking us to do?" Jake asked quietly. "Fight," Zenthka said simply. "Fight like only Deathworlders can fight. Show the machines what happens when they threaten something." A human decides to protect. Jake's communicator buzzed with an urgent message from Earth. "Commander, Alex Rivera wanted an immediate report about the alien contact." Jake looked at Zenthka, then at the star charts showing the advancing wave of destruction, and realized that humanity's long period of hiding was about to end. On the main screen, another signal came through from deep space. This one was different, mechanical and cold. Lisa's translation program identified it as coming from the Void Collective itself. The message was short and terrifying in its simplicity. "Biological resistance is futile. Consumption will proceed." Jake made his choice. "Lisa, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we're coming home and we're bringing a friend who needs our help. Tell them the galaxy is at war, and they want humanity to join the fight." As the Earth's eye turned toward home, carrying the first alien ambassador in human history, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to unleash something that would change the galaxy forever. The aliens had asked for kindness and mercy, but they didn't understand what they were really requesting. They wanted help from a species that had learned to survive by being more dangerous than anything their world could throw at them. The stars ahead looked different now, no longer distant points of light but potential battlefields where human ingenuity and alien desperation would meet machine efficiency. The peaceful galaxy was about to learn what happened when you asked Deathworlders for help. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the main briefing room at Earth Command and watched the most important meeting in human history unfold before her eyes. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat around the massive table, their faces grim as they studied the data Jake Morrison had brought back from his encounter with the alien refugee. Zenthka floated in a specially designed tank that kept the Kalari ambassador comfortable while allowing communication with the human leaders. The alien's translator device worked perfectly, but the concepts being discussed were proving harder to translate than the words themselves. "Let me understand this correctly," said the representative from the European Union. "These aliens want us to fight a war against machines that have already destroyed 47 star systems. They're offering us their technology in exchange for our military help." "That is correct," Zenthka replied, the translator giving the alien's voice a mechanical quality that somehow made the desperation more obvious. "The Void Collective has been active for 6 of your months. In that time, they have consumed the resources of entire worlds and killed trillions of sentient beings." Admiral Sullivan had been chosen to lead the military response because of her experience in the Martian Independence War, the last real conflict humanity had fought. She understood better than most what the aliens were really asking for. "Zenthka, I need you to understand something about humans. When we fight, we don't fight to disable or capture. We fight to win, completely and permanently. Are you prepared for what that means?" The alien's large eyes blinked slowly. "Admiral Sullivan, we have already lost everything we valued about our peaceful existence. The Void Collective does not negotiate, does not show mercy, and does not leave survivors. If human methods can stop them, then we accept whatever those methods require." Dr. Marcus Webb, Earth's leading military engineer, leaned forward. "The technology you're offering, how advanced is it compared to ours?" "Your species has developed along very different lines," Zenthka explained. "Our technology focuses on efficiency, sustainability, and harmony with natural systems. Your technology appears designed to overcome hostile environments and survive catastrophic failures. Neither approach is superior, but they complement each other in unexpected ways." Webb nodded thoughtfully. "Our ships are built to survive asteroid impacts, solar radiation, and gravitational stress because space around Earth is dangerous. Your ships are probably faster and more efficient, but they can't take the kind of damage ours can." "Precisely," the alien confirmed. "But more importantly, your weapons are designed with an understanding of destruction that we lack. When we create tools to stop an enemy, we think about disabling their ability to fight. When you create weapons, you think about ending threats permanently. Colonel Ben Hughes, who would be commanding the ground forces, asked the question that was on everyone's mind. How do these void machines fight? What are their tactics? The main screen lit up with footage that Zenthka's people had recorded during the attacks on their worlds. The images showed massive mechanical ships that moved with perfect coordination, breaking down entire planets with industrial efficiency. There was no waste, no emotion, no hesitation in their actions. They are completely logical, Zenthka explained. They attack in patterns that minimize their losses while maximizing resource extraction. They expect biological resistance to follow certain rules: retreat when overwhelmed, negotiate when cornered, surrender when defeat is certain. Hughes studied the footage and smiled grimly. They've never fought humans before, have they? No, the alien confirmed. Your species is unique in our experience. Most intelligent life develops on worlds that support and nurture growth. Your world actively tried to kill you, which shaped not just your bodies but your minds. You think differently than any other species we know. Admiral Sullivan stood and addressed the room. Ladies and gentlemen, I recommend we accept this alliance. The alien refugees are offering us access to technology that could advance our civilization by centuries. In exchange, they want us to do what humans have always done best: fight for survival against impossible odds. The vote was unanimous. Within hours, every military base on Earth was receiving new orders. The first human expeditionary force would be assembled in record time, combining the best ships, weapons, and personnel that Earth could provide. Lieutenant Amy Price was one of the first pilots selected for the new force. She had experience flying in the dangerous asteroid belts around Mars, where split-second reactions meant the difference between life and death. As she studied the alien tactical data, she began to understand why the peaceful species had been so easily defeated. They fight like they're playing a game with rules, she told her squadron mates. They try to minimize casualties and preserve infrastructure. The machines expect that behavior and plan for it. Her commanding officer nodded. That's going to be their weakness. Human pilots don't follow alien rules. Meanwhile, Dr. Webb was working with alien engineers to understand the Void Collective's technology. What he discovered was both fascinating and terrifying. The machines were incredibly advanced, but they operated according to rigid programming that assumed all biological life would behave in predictable ways. They can adapt to new weapons and tactics, Webb reported to Admiral Sullivan, but they can't adapt to completely irrational behavior. They expect enemies to value their own lives above mission objectives. That's not how humans fight, Sullivan replied, especially not when we're protecting something we care about. The first ships of the Liberation Fleet began assembling near the moon. Human vessels that had been designed to survive the hazards of Earth's solar system were retrofitted with weapons that would have horrified the peaceful aliens if they had understood their true purpose. Kinetic bombardment systems, nuclear warheads, and plasma cannons were installed alongside defensive systems that could absorb incredible amounts of damage. Torgesh, a surviving military leader from the crystalline Nethys species, arrived to help train human forces in galactic warfare. The alien warrior was shocked by what humans considered normal military training. Your soldiers practice hand-to-hand combat for recreation, Torgesh observed, watching a group of Marines sparring. They intentionally place themselves in dangerous situations to improve their skills. Colonel Hughes grinned. That's just basic training. Wait until you see what our special forces can do. The cultural exchange worked both ways. Human military leaders were amazed by alien tactical computers that could coordinate the movements of thousands of ships simultaneously. Alien refugees were stunned by human weapons that could crack the hull of a battleship with a single shot. But the most important discovery came when Dr. Lisa Kane analyzed recordings of Void Collective communications. The machines were trying to understand human psychology by studying captured transmissions, but they were failing completely. They keep trying to find logical explanations for human behavior, Kane reported. They can't understand why our soldiers would charge into overwhelming odds, or why our pilots would sacrifice their ships to protect others. Their programming assumes that all life forms will prioritize survival above all other considerations. Admiral Sullivan studied the data and realized the scope of the opportunity they had been given. The aliens didn't just ask us to fight their war. They asked us to fight it our way. The machines have never encountered an enemy that thinks like humans do. As the Liberation Fleet prepared for its first mission, News feeds across Earth showed images of alien refugees working alongside human engineers, soldiers, and scientists. The partnership was unlike anything in human history, but it felt natural to both species. The aliens provided advanced technology and tactical knowledge, while humans provided the one thing that had been missing from galactic civilization: the willingness to fight without limits when survival was at stake. The final briefing took place aboard the flagship New Horizon, with Admiral Sullivan addressing the combined human and alien forces. "We're about to undertake the most important mission in galactic history," she announced. "The Void Collective has spent months conquering peaceful civilizations that couldn't fight back effectively. Today they're going to meet humans for the first time." As the fleet prepared to jump to their first target, Zenthka approached Admiral Sullivan with a final message from the Alien Refugee Councils. "Our people have a saying that translates roughly as, 'May your enemies know mercy.' Today, I think we understand why your people prefer a different philosophy." Sullivan looked out at the stars ahead and thought about the billions of alien civilians counting on human protection. "In human culture, we have a saying too: 'Peace through superior firepower.' The machines are about to learn what that means." Captain Rick Stone watched his tactical display as the Liberation fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Ythrin system, and immediately knew they were walking into hell. The Void Collective had been busy during the 3 months since destroying the primary world, turning the entire system into a massive industrial complex dedicated to building more machines. "Jesus Christ," whispered his sensor officer as the scope of the destruction became clear. "They've completely stripped 2 planets down to their cores." The Ythrin system had once been home to 8 billion crystalline nethys, a species that lived in beautiful crystal cities and communicated through harmonic vibrations. Now there was nothing left but automated mining platforms and constructor ships that turned processed matter into new void machines with mechanical efficiency. Major Claire, Foster checked her equipment one final time as her special operations team prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives. Intelligence suggested that several thousand Nethys survivors were being held in a mining facility on Ythrin Prime's largest moon, probably being studied by the machines to understand their psychology and biology. "Remember, these machines expect us to follow standard rescue protocols," Foster told her commandos. "They think we'll try to sneak in quietly, avoid casualties, and extract the prisoners without causing too much damage. We're going to do exactly the opposite." Dr. Elena Rodriguez monitored void communications from the command ship, listening to the mechanical chatter as the enemy tried to understand the human fleet's behavior. The machines were already confused by the human formation, which prioritized offensive capability over defensive positioning. "Captain, the machines are trying to initiate standard biological contact protocols," Rodriguez reported. "They're broadcasting surrender terms and offering to negotiate for the release of prisoners in exchange for our withdrawal." Captain Stone smiled coldly. "Tell them we're not here to negotiate." Pilot Officer Danny Kim led his fighter squadron through the asteroid belt that surrounded Ythrin Prime's moon, weaving between chunks of processed metal that had once been beautiful crystal formations. His mission was to clear a path for the assault transports, but the Void Interceptors were unlike any enemy human pilots had ever faced. The machine fighters moved with perfect coordination, never making mistakes or acting on emotion. They calculated optimal attack patterns and executed them flawlessly, but they couldn't adapt to Danny's squadron's complete disregard for their own safety. "Phoenix leader to all units," Danny called over the radio. "These machines fight like they're trying to preserve their ships. Let's show them what expendable means." Danny's wingman, Lieutenant Sarah Mills, executed a maneuver that would have been considered suicidal against human enemies. She flew her fighter directly at a group of Void Interceptors and detonated her ship's entire missile payload at point-blank range, destroying 3 enemy craft and severely damaging 2 others before ejecting from her crippled fighter. The machines tried to understand what had happened, but their tactical computers couldn't process the concept of deliberately sacrificing valuable equipment to achieve a tactical advantage. Their programming assumed that all biological entities would try to preserve their assets. Major Foster's assault team hit the mining facility like a hurricane of controlled destruction. Instead of trying to infiltrate quietly, they used shape charges to blow holes directly through the facility's outer hull, then followed up with flame-based weapons that cleared entire corridors in minutes. The Void security drones responded according to their programming, deploying containment fields and non-lethal suppression systems designed to capture intruders for study. They were unprepared for human soldiers who used high-explosive grenades as door openers and treated heavy fortifications as temporary obstacles. Facility security to Central Command. Dr. Rodriguez heard through her monitoring equipment. Biological intruders are using destruction-based infiltration methods. Request tactical update for unknown combat patterns. Foster's team found the Nethys prisoners in a research facility deep within the moon's core. The aliens were in poor condition after months of captivity, but they were alive. What shocked the rescue team was the evidence of what the machines had been doing to them. They've been running psychological experiments. Foster reported to Captain Stone, testing response patterns to different types of stress, trying to build a complete behavioral model of biological intelligence. The rescue operation succeeded beyond all expectations, but not in the way the aliens had imagined. Instead of carefully extracting the prisoners and withdrawing, Foster's team systematically destroyed every piece of Void technology they could find. They didn't just rescue the Nethys survivors. They eliminated an entire research facility and captured valuable intelligence about machine operations. Sectel, a Kalari intelligence operative who had escaped the destruction of her homeworld, watched human combat operations with fascination and growing understanding. She had volunteered to serve as liaison with human forces, thinking her experience with Void tactics would be valuable. What she discovered instead was that human tactics made Void experience irrelevant. Your people fight like the universe is trying to kill them, she observed to Captain Stone as they watched footage from the rescue mission. The universe is trying to kill us, Stone replied matter-of-factly. That's why we're still alive when peaceful species aren't. The battle for Ethran Prime's moon lasted 6 hours and ended with complete human victory. The mining facility was destroyed. 3,000 Nethys survivors were rescued, and the human fleet captured an intact Void command node that provided crucial intelligence about machine operations. But the victory came with a cost that shocked both human and alien observers. 12 human fighters had been lost along with 2 assault transports and over 300 personnel. The alien refugees had never seen casualties on that scale in a single engagement. Danny Kim, who had survived his squadron's sacrifice play, tried to explain human military philosophy to a group of Nethys officers. We don't fight to minimize casualties, he said simply. We fight to win. Sometimes winning requires people to die. The captured Void command node provided Dr. Rodriguez with her first direct look at machine intelligence, and what she found was both encouraging and terrifying. The machines were incredibly sophisticated, but they operated according to rigid behavioral models that assumed all biological life would follow predictable patterns. They expect negotiation when cornered, retreat when overwhelmed, and surrender when defeat is inevitable, Rodriguez reported to the fleet commanders. Human psychological profiles don't match any of their behavioral models. Captain Stone studied the tactical analysis and realized the full scope of what humanity had stumbled into. The Void Collective had conquered dozens of civilizations using the same basic strategy. Overwhelm organized resistance, capture key leaders, and force surrender through the threat of total destruction. It was a strategy that worked perfectly against species that valued life above all other considerations. They've never fought an enemy that considers death an acceptable cost of victory, Stone concluded. Every time they've encountered biological resistance, they've been able to end conflicts through negotiation or intimidation. The news of the Ithran victory spread quickly through both human and alien communication networks. On-Earth recruitment centers were overwhelmed by volunteers wanting to join the Liberation Fleet. Among the alien refugee fleets, the victory provided the first hope they had felt since the Void attacks began. But the machines were learning too. New interceptor designs began appearing in Void-controlled systems, equipped with heavier weapons and programmed with updated tactical algorithms. The easy victories were over. Zenthka contacted the human fleet from the refugee ship that served as mobile headquarters for the surviving alien governments. Admiral Stone, our analysis teams have studied your combat footage. The machines are already adapting to human tactics. Let them adapt, Stone replied. Humans have been adapting to hostile environments for millions of years. It's what we do best. As the Liberation Fleet prepared for their next mission, The crew of the New Horizon could see the psychological impact their victory had on both sides of the conflict. The alien refugees were beginning to understand what they had unleashed when they asked Deathworlders for help, while the machine intelligence was struggling to comprehend an enemy that didn't behave according to any known biological patterns. The war was entering a new phase. The Void Collective would no longer be facing peaceful civilizations that tried to minimize violence. They were about to discover what happened when an entire species treated warfare as just another hostile environment to be conquered through superior adaptability and acceptable losses. Captain Stone looked at the star, charts showing void-controlled systems, and felt something that the peaceful aliens couldn't understand. Anticipation. Humans had spent their entire evolutionary history fighting for survival against impossible odds. Finally, they had found an enemy worthy of their full attention. General Sam Parker stood among the ruins of what had once been a Verdani colony city and tried not to think about how much the crystalline structures reminded him of the churches back on Earth. 6 months of fighting, the Void Collective had taught humanity that war against machines was different from any conflict they had ever experienced, and the cost was starting to show on everyone. "Sir, we've cleared Sector 7, reported Sergeant Maya Johnson, her voice tight with exhaustion. "No survivors, but we did find intact data cores that the machines were using to study Verdani biology." Parker nodded grimly. This was their 5th liberated world, and the pattern was always the same. The Void machines would capture a planet, strip it of resources, and conduct detailed studies of any surviving population. The aliens they didn't kill immediately were kept alive for research purposes until human forces arrived. Captain Lisa Chang emerged from the ruins of what appeared to be a Void research facility, her intelligence team carrying data storage devices that contained months of captured information. What they had learned about the enemy was both encouraging and deeply disturbing. "General, you need to see this," Chang said, connecting a Void data core to her portable computer. "The machines have been studying us too. They've analyzed every battle we've fought, every tactic we've used, every casualty report we've filed." The display showed detailed psychological profiles of human military personnel, complete with behavioral prediction models and tactical response algorithms. The machines were learning, but they were learning in ways that revealed their fundamental misunderstanding of human nature. "They think we're suffering from a species-wide mental disorder," Chang continued. "According to their analysis, human willingness to accept casualties is evidence of defective survival programming. They keep trying to find a logical explanation for why we don't surrender when faced with superior odds." Commander Pete Anderson coordinated the Liberation Fleet from his command ship in orbit, watching the tactical displays that showed the true scope of the war they were fighting. Every victory came with losses that would have crippled the military forces of any alien species. But humanity kept fighting because that's what humans did when their survival was threatened. "Fleet Command to Ground Forces," Anderson broadcast. "We're detecting massive machine reinforcements approaching the system. You have 6 hours to complete the evacuation before we have to withdraw." The evacuation wasn't just about saving Verdani survivors. Human forces had learned to capture every piece of Void technology they could find, studying machine systems with the same intensity that the machines studied biological behavior. The result was an arms race unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Sergeant Johnson's Marine unit was loading the last group of Verdani refugees onto transport ships when the new wave of Void machines arrived. These weren't the same models they had been fighting for months. The enemy had adapted, creating new designs specifically intended to counter human tactics. "Contact front," Johnson called over her radio as machine infantry began advancing through the ruins. "These new ones are different. They're not trying to capture us for study. They're shooting to kill." The battle that followed was brutal even by human standards. The new Void machines fought with the same mechanical precision as their predecessors, but they had been programmed with updated behavioral models that accounted for human aggression and tactical flexibility. Johnson watched one of her Marines, Corporal Tim Brady, make a decision that perfectly illustrated the difference between human and machine thinking. Brady was pinned down by enemy fire in a position that offered no tactical advantage, but instead of retreating, he used his remaining grenades to bring down a damaged building on top of the machine forces threatening his squad. "Brady's down," Johnson reported as medical teams moved to help the wounded Marine. But he took out 12 machines and cleared our escape route. The machines tried to analyze Brady's action according to their tactical models, but couldn't find a logical explanation. Their programming assumed that biological entities would prioritize self-preservation over mission objectives, but human behavior consistently violated that assumption. Keth Prima, a Verdani bioengineer who had been working with human research teams, provided the breakthrough that changed how both sides understood the war. Her plant-based physiology allowed her to interface directly with void computer systems, while her collaboration with human scientists provided the creative destructiveness needed to exploit discovered weaknesses. The machines aren't just studying our tactics, she explained to General Parker. They're trying to understand our fundamental psychology. They want to know why humans behave in ways that their models say should be. Impossible. The joint human-alien research teams had developed new weapons that attacked not just machine hardware but the intelligence that controlled it. Biological viruses that corrupted command protocols, quantum algorithms that created unsolvable logical paradoxes, and psychological warfare techniques that exploited the machine's need for predictable behavioral patterns. But the Void Collective was adapting too. Their latest model showed evidence of distributed intelligence that could function even when individual units were completely cut off from central command. They were learning to think more like humans, and that made them far more dangerous. The campaign reached its climax at the binary stars of Keftor, where Commander Anderson coordinated the largest space battle in galactic history. 47 human ships and 93 alien vessels faced a void fleet that had been specifically assembled to test new anti-human tactics. All ships, this is Anderson, the commander broadcast to the combined fleet. Intelligence indicates the machines want to study our response to overwhelming odds. Let's give them something to remember. The battle lasted 14 hours and became a textbook example of human military doctrine applied on an interstellar scale. Instead of trying to match the machine fleet's superior numbers, Anderson used humanity's greatest tactical advantage: the willingness to sacrifice valuable assets to achieve strategic objectives. Human ships loaded with high explosives were piloted directly into void formations, turning each vessel into a massive kinetic weapon. The psychological impact on the machine intelligence was devastating, but the cost in human lives was enormous. Admiral Kate Sullivan led the final assault personally, coordinating her flagship's attack on the Void Command vessel while her fleet provided covering fire. The battle was won when Sullivan's ship rammed the enemy command center at maximum velocity, destroying both vessels and eliminating the tactical intelligence that controlled the entire Void fleet in that sector. The victory at Keftor broke the back of Void resistance in the Outer Rim systems, but it cost humanity over 12,000 lives, including Admiral Sullivan herself. The alien refugees watched human military funerals with growing understanding of what their request for help had really meant. Zenth Ka, now serving as the primary liaison between human and alien forces, tried to express the magnitude of alien gratitude for human sacrifice. Your species has given more for our survival than we have any right to ask, the Kalari ambassador said during Sullivan's memorial service. We're not doing this just for you, replied General Parker, who had been promoted to overall command of human forces. The machines made this personal when they decided our entire species was defective. Now they're going to learn what defective really looks like. The war entered its final phase with the discovery that the Void Collective's main intelligence was located in a fortress system near the galactic core. The machines had been coordinating their attacks from a network of artificial worlds that surrounded a controlled black hole, protected by defenses that had never been successfully breached. Dr. Rachel Scott, who had taken over Sullivan's research programs, made the crucial discovery about void consciousness that would make victory possible. The machine intelligence wasn't distributed across multiple systems as previously thought, but was instead a single entity that experienced existence as pure logic and efficiency. The overmind can't understand concepts that don't fit its programming, Scott reported to the combined human-alien command staff. Intentional irrationality, acceptable losses for abstract concepts, sacrifice for emotional reasons. These ideas are literally incomprehensible to machine logic. General Parker studied the intelligence reports and realized that humanity had one final card to play. The machines had spent months studying human psychology, trying to find logical explanations for illogical behavior. They still didn't understand that humans could choose to act against their own interests if the cause was important enough. "We're going to give them something they can't possibly understand," Parker announced to his staff. "We're going to attack their strongest position with insufficient forces and no hope of survival, because that's the right thing to do." The final campaign would require everything humanity had learned about warfare, sacrifice, and the price of freedom. The peaceful galaxy was about to witness what happened when Deathworlders decided that some things were worth dying for. Admiral Tony Mitchell stood on the bridge of the human flagship Terra's Vengeance and watched the most magnificent and terrible sight in galactic history unfold before him. The Void Collective's home system was a masterpiece of mechanical engineering, with artificial worlds connected by energy bridges that surrounded a controlled black hole, but it was also the heart of an intelligence that had consumed trillions of lives. "All ships report ready for final assault," announced his communications officer. "Human fleet strength is 47 vessels with 36,000 personnel. Allied alien forces consist of 112 ships with mixed crews." Mitchell nodded grimly. It wasn't nearly enough force for a conventional assault, but conventional thinking had never been humanity's strength. 1 year after Admiral Sullivan's death, the human military had learned to use their greatest advantage, the ability to make choices that no logical mind could
understand. Dr. Rachel Scott monitored the quantum communication
arrays that connected the Void Fortress worlds, watching data streams that represented the thoughts of the Overmind itself. Her research had revealed the fundamental weakness in machine intelligence. It could adapt to any logical threat, but it couldn't comprehend truly irrational behavior. "Admiral, the Overmind is trying to negotiate," Scott reported. "It's offering to withdraw from all occupied systems in exchange for our retreat. It can't understand why we would attack a superior force when a peaceful solution is available." Colonel Steve Turner checked his equipment one final time as the Deathworld division prepared for their mission. His unit consisted entirely of volunteers from Earth's most dangerous environments, people who had grown up in active war zones, radiation-soaked wastelands, and the deep ocean trenches where pressure could crush a human body in seconds. "Remember, our job isn't to survive," Turner told his soldiers. "Our job is to reach the Overmind's core and deliver the package no matter what happens to us. The entire galaxy is counting on us to do something no sane species would attempt." Chief Petty Officer Nina Walsh put the finishing touches on the weapon that would end the war. Her quantum torpedo was designed to exploit the Overmind's need for logical consistency by presenting it with an unsolvable paradox, a mathematical equation that had no answer but couldn't be ignored. "The theory is sound," Walsh reported to Admiral Mitchell. "If the Overmind tries to process this equation, it will enter an infinite loop that will cascade through its entire network. But someone has to deliver it directly to the central processing core." Zenthka floated in her command tank aboard the alien flagship, coordinating the largest multi-species military operation in galactic history. The surviving refugees from 12 different civilizations were about to witness the final battle between biological chaos and mechanical order. "Human fleet, this is Kalari Command," Zenthka broadcast. "Our people have prepared songs for your victory and prayers for your sacrifice. Whatever happens today, the galaxy will remember that Deathworlders kept their promise." The battle began when human forces deliberately triggered every sensor array in the Void system, announcing their presence with the subtlety of a solar flare. The Overmind responded according to its programming, deploying defensive forces and preparing to negotiate with the biological intruders. Admiral Mitchell implemented a strategy that would have horrified military commanders from any other species. Instead of trying to fight through the Void defenses, he ordered human ships to ram critical installations at maximum velocity, turning each vessel into a kinetic weapon that could crack the artificial world's protective barriers. The psychological impact on the Overmind was immediate and devastating. Machine intelligence could calculate the optimal response to any tactical situation, but it couldn't understand creatures that would destroy themselves to deny the enemy. "Victory, this is Captain Jerry Walsh. Aboard the destroyer Earth's Fury," came the radio. Transmission as one of Mitchell's captains aimed. His ship at a Void Fortress. "Tell my family I died doing something that mattered." The explosion when Earth's Fury hit the fortress at near light speed was visible from 3 star systems away. The blast opened a gap in the defenses that allowed Colonel Turner's assault transports to reach the central processing complex where the Overmind maintained its core consciousness, Turner's. Commandos fought their way through mechanical defenses that had been designed to stop any conceivable biological assault. The Void security systems used containment fields, non-lethal suppression, and negotiation protocols because machine logic assumed that biological entities could be reasoned with or intimidated into surrender. Deathworld actual to all units. Turner radioed as his team reached the final corridor. We're at the core chamber. Nina's package is armed and ready for delivery. It's been an honor serving with you. The Overmind made one final attempt to understand human psychology, broadcasting directly to Turner's team through the facility's communication system. Biological entities, your mission has no logical purpose. You cannot survive this encounter. Withdraw now and negotiation protocols will be initiated. Turner looked at his soldiers, men and women who had volunteered for a suicide mission, because someone needed to deliver humanity's final message to the machines. Overmind, you've spent months studying human behavior and you still don't get it. We're not here because it's logical. We're here because it's right. Chief Walsh's quantum torpedo detonated at the exact moment Turner's team breached the core chamber, creating a cascade reaction that spread through the Overmind's entire network. The machine intelligence, faced with an unsolvable mathematical paradox, tried to process the equation and entered an infinite loop that paralyzed its thought processes. Across thousands of star systems, Void machines simply stopped functioning. Without the Overmind's central coordination, the individual units had no purpose, no direction, and no ability to make independent decisions. The galaxy's greatest threat died not in battle, but from exposure to an idea it couldn't understand. Admiral Mitchell watched the tactical displays as enemy signatures disappeared from sensors throughout the galaxy. The war was over, but the cost had been enormous. Earth's population had been reduced by 60% through military casualties and industrial conversion to war production. Fleet command to all vessels. Mitchell broadcast. The Overmind has been neutralized. All Void forces have ceased operations. The galaxy is free. The celebration that followed was muted by the scope of human losses. Every family on Earth had lost someone to the war, and entire cities had been converted to military production facilities. The planet that had once been hidden from galactic civilization was now its protector and guardian. Dr. Scott's final report on the war contained observations that would influence galactic politics for centuries to come. The Void Collective was defeated not by superior technology or tactics, but by humanity's fundamental willingness to embrace destruction as a path to creation. The galaxy's peaceful species learned that sometimes the only way to preserve life is to master death. Zenthka addressed the combined human and alien fleets from her position as representative of the surviving refugee populations. The children of the Deathworld came to us when we pleaded for kindness, but they brought war instead. We asked for mercy and received justice. We asked for help and received salvation. The establishment of the Terran Protectorate formalized humanity's role as the galaxy's military guardians. The surviving aliens, numbering barely 1 billion individuals across all species, would rebuild their civilizations under human protection, while Earth took responsibility for ensuring that no similar threat could ever again consume entire star systems. Admiral Mitchell's final log entry summarized what humanity had learned from their first interstellar war. We came to save peaceful aliens from mechanical oppression, but we discovered that the galaxy's greatest threat wasn't the machines. It was the assumption that violence is always wrong. Sometimes the most peaceful thing you can do is eliminate those who would destroy peace itself. The war ended with humanity emerging as the dominant military power in the galaxy, but also with a deep understanding of the responsibility that came with such capability. Human children would grow up on alien worlds, learning to be guardians of a civilization that had learned the hard way that kindness sometimes requires the strength to wage war. On Earth, monuments were built to commemorate the 12,000 humans who had died at Keftor, the 300 who fell at Ythrin Prime, and the countless others who had given their lives to protect species they had never met. The inscriptions were simple. They asked for our help, so we gave them our best. The galaxy would never be the same. The peaceful species that had once feared the legendary Deathworlders now looked to them for protection, while humanity accepted the burden of being the guardians of a civilization that valued life too much to effectively defend it. In the years that followed, Human military bases would be established throughout the galaxy, not as conquerors but as protectors. The species that had asked for kindness and received war had learned that sometimes the greatest act of mercy is the willingness to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. The final lesson of the Void War was carved into the memorial at Earth Command.